Check, check. Hello, hello. Hey everybody, Chris here in the First UMC Media Office. I've got your Saturday evening thingy. It's good to be with you tonight. I hope you're enjoying today's cooler and breezy weather. I know I am. I've got a confession to make that I'm going to share with you. And it's a confession that might mark me as not a very good Methodist, or maybe even not a very good Christian. Here's my confession. I'm not really into Psalm 23. Psalm 23 just is not a favorite of mine. And if it's your favorite, that's cool. That's fine with me. You know, we all have our reasons why certain words really speak to us or don't speak to us. And maybe Psalm 23 helped you through a rough time in your life. Maybe maybe you get strength and comfort from that particular psalm. And if that's the case, I certainly respect that. And keep on rocking your Psalm 23. I'm totally good with that. But for me, I've heard it at virtually every funeral and every sad event that I've ever attended at a church. And it's just not my style. Please don't read it at my funeral. Don't read Psalm 23 at my funeral. If you're going to read Psalm 23 at my funeral, I'm not coming, okay? For me, read one of the psalms of awe, one of the psalms of praise. Because even if I get hit by a bus tonight and my life is cut short, I've already lived a blessed enough life to go out with praise and gratitude and thanksgiving. So read one of those psalms for me at my funeral, please. But having said all that, Lisa and her brother and I were traveling this week, and Psalm 23 seems to fit our situation a little bit. Now, we didn't lie down in green pastures, as it says, but we did sit at picnic tables, and we did stop by some scenic overlooks. And so that's kind of the same thing as lying down in green pastures. It's relaxing. So this little road trip that we took was an idea that I've been kicking around for a couple of years, and it was simply this, and that's to cross every bridge in Iowa over the Mississippi River. And it's a little adventure that in the grand scheme of life is pretty meaningless, but still, it's interesting and it's kind of fun. And in this pandemic year, it seems like a fairly safe kind of outing because most of it is in your own car or outdoors and in natural areas. And so we did that. And, he led us by still waters, as the psalm says. He leadeth me by still waters. He also He also got us to waters that weren't still, that were moving slowly or sometimes a little more rapidly. We started north in the northeast corner of the state at Lansing, and we drove all the way down to Keokuk, and we crossed every single bridge over the Mississippi River. And a few of them we crossed more than once, because if we didn't come back, we'd be on the wrong side to continue our drive the way we wanted to. And the only thing that we had pre-planned on this trip was where we were going to stay each night. Right? We wanted to have our lodging arranged ahead of time. But other than that, we just sort of let the trip unfold before us as we were driving along. And we stopped at the wayside attractions when we wanted, and we made some notes of things that we want to go back and see someday. We ate some good food. At one point, as the psalm says, he prepared a table in the presence of our enemies, because we went to Illinois to get French fries. And they were surprisingly happy to see us there. Maybe they aren't our enemies after all in Illinois. But taken as a whole, it was a great trip. It was not without sadness, though. You know, we could tell that some of the small towns and some of the small businesses are struggling with the downturn in tourism this year as a result of the pandemic. And you know, we were even touched on sort of a serious note by the Valley of the Shadow of Death. The remains of a young man who had an accident on the river the weekend before were found just downstream from our hotel in Dubuque the morning that we were there, and so our hearts go out to his family. But other than that, it was a nice trip, and you know, it was too hot really last week to do any hiking or strenuous outdoor activity. But you know, the river valley is really pretty, and even after years, 50 years of living in this state, we passed through places that I'd never been to before, and that was really nice. We saw the old prison at Fort Madison. What an intimidating place that is. And then we went out and drove by the new one. I don't want to spend much time there either. We splashed around on a splash pad in downtown Moline. We ate tenderloins and catfish and hot beef sandwiches and Vietnamese noodles and ice cream. And we had a dinner on a deck overlooking the river. We had one hotel room where we could see both trains and boats at the same time. So that was pretty much paradise for me. I could spend probably my life in that hotel room. We saw deer, we saw eagles, we saw vultures and hawks and herons. And, you know, this is Iowa, so we saw cows and pigs too. At one point, we sat for a few minutes in a sweltering, hot wildlife viewing blind in a park in Muscatine, and it got so hot we just couldn't stay. And the only wildlife we saw was a wasp, but it was all good because there was a Dairy Queen close by, and so we got ice cream after that. So we watched boats go through the locks in Bellevue. We explored some back roads on both sides of the river. We found some really nice state parks like Wildcat Den State Park down in southeast Iowa. We saw the Mormon temple at Nauvoo, Illinois, which was beautiful. And you know, we walked up and down Snake Alley in Burlington. The bridges themselves, they were a big part of the fun. There were old ones, narrow ones, scary ones. There were new ones, concrete ones that are wider and seem a little safer. Some of the bridges were really high up over the water, and some were way down low, right over the water, and they had to open up to let the boats through. And in fact, we sat and waited on the bridge at Fort Madison while it opened up to let some boats go through. And then one time we were on the river ourselves. We took the ferry from Millville, Iowa to Cassville, Wisconsin, and that was a load of fun. So this was just a short mini vacation that we did with enough pieces of Psalm 23 in place, right? Stillness, greenness, enough pieces of Psalm 23 to leave our souls feeling restored, or like the psalm says, restoreth. You know, school has started, but there still are some warm days ahead of us, still some really nice weeks, and some would say that maybe even the best weeks of the year are ahead of us. And so I hope that sometime before the snow and the ice come and lock us all in for the winter, that you find a way, a pandemically safe way, to get out and see some of the world and have your soul restoreth too. So that's what's on my mind tonight, just catching you up on where we've been this week. Anyway, remember, tomorrow is our outdoor worship service, Worship on the Green. We will have one worship service only tomorrow. One worship service only tomorrow, okay? How many worship services are we having tomorrow? One. It's at 10 o'clock, all right? Not at 8:30. It's at 10 o'clock. So if you sign on to the live stream and go looking for it at 8:30, you're not going to find it. You will find it at 10 o'clock. You're welcome to attend in person. We encourage you to attend in person tomorrow. You can bring your lawn chairs, sit on the grass in a socially distant way. It should be all good when we're outdoors like that. Or you can stay in the car and tune your radio to 90.3, and you'll be able to hear everything that way through your car radio if you want just that extra little bit of protection of being in your own car. So, Pastor Scott, Pastor Matt, they'll be singing and preaching under the tree in our churchyard, and it's the second week of our Teach Us to Pray series, where we're learning to reclaim the power of the Lord's Prayer. So anyway, that's what's going on tomorrow. I will see you there and then, one way or another. And until then, have a great Saturday night.